Hello, welcome to another episode of Everybody's Lost. I hope this podcast helps you if you are feeling lost, you have felt lost at any point of your life, and I hope it inspires you and helps you. I'm Veronica Muñoz, journalist, your host, and today I'm sitting with Ximena Borrazas. She's a Uruguayan photojournalist and videographer, and she has captured the most pressing humanitarian crisis in the world, such as the ones in Ukraine, Lebanon, Syria, the Tigray war, and many more. So thank you so much for coming. I really admire your work, everything you have been published to international media outlets, BBC, CNN, the W News, National Geographic, many more. And you are here because you have just won an award. So congratulations for that as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I really admire you. I've been admiring you for a long time since I was studying journalism, and then I followed you and everything. So, yes, tell us about yourself and your upbringing in Uruguay, and when did you decide to become a photojournalist, or was it your passion since you were little?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me, for your kindness. I'm super happy to be here. My name is Ximena Borrazas. I was born in Montevideo, Uruguay. In Uruguay, I studied two careers, marketing and public relations. So I spent most part of my life in marketing field. And on 2018, I made a long travel, 4 months and a half, um, through Asia mostly. And I discovered that I used to hate my life because I discovered the marketing world maybe is quite superficial. And I was not proud of anything. I didn't have a purpose on my life. So I returned to Uruguay when I finished the trip, and I started studying a short course in photography, just to discover if photography was my way, the thing that I want to dedicate my life or not. And I really enjoyed the course. So on 2019, I decided to move to Barcelona, where I am based since now. And I also study a 1 year course in photography, and I discovered I love this. And this is this is what I want to do in my life. So yeah, I started with a project about homeless people in the Gothic neighborhood in Barcelona. And during 2 years, I interviewed 80 homeless people, and I end up publishing a book with their stories. And then when the full war in Ukraine started, first I traveled to the Polish border. Um, I felt I need to go. I didn't have any contacts of editors, nothing. But I said I need to go for some strange reason. And when I started in this world of photography, my desire, my dream always was like to be a National Geographic photographer, but to work with landscapes and to publish a front page with a nice sunset at the mountains or something like this. And when I traveled to the Polish border, I spent around 10 days with the refugees, interviewing them. And then when I returned to Spain, I published my reportage in National Geographic. Was not about environment or nature, but
It was
yeah, in National
yeah,
Geographic.
the human
Yeah,
side of it, like yeah.
totally. And the causes of the war.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got the military accreditation, and I entered Ukraine 5 times. And that was the beginning.
The beginning of being a war correspondent, war journalist. So, yes, tell us a bit more about this, that first time in Ukraine. How was it for you? Did you go with any safety, any training? What, like, there was something within you that made you go there? And
Yeah, it's a good question because, of course, we with my colleagues didn't have any security. The first city I visited was Lviv. It's near the Polish border, and is, we can say, is safe in a certain way. Of course, if you can compare Lviv with the front line, we are talking about different wars. So I spent a couple of days in Lviv just to document the Orthodox Christmas and to start in this war, because when you are new, when you don't have any kind of experience covering wars, it's a suicide to go direct to the front, because
Yeah,
you
of
don't know how
course.
to react, you are not prepared, you don't have any contacts, you don't have fixers, and you don't have protection, I mean, body armor, for example. So yeah, at first I spent a couple of days just to test how I feel, how I manage this. So it was the first time I hear the alarms, the shelling alarms, and I was quite afraid. I need to say, because this is not normal for anyone, and was super new for me. I came from a country, a peaceful country. We never had any wars or nothing like this.
You have never experienced something like
Yeah,
that in your life, and I think it's easier to just watch it than to experience it and be
totally.
there.
Yes, totally. And then I left Ukraine, and when I come back to Spain, I said, okay, now I need to go more deep in the country. And I returned again on August 2022, and this was my first time in Frontline. And yeah, I mean, without anything, we got the RSF, Reporters Without Borders. They, if you pay like annually membership, you can ask them for body armor for free. So that's the way how freelancers work in war zones if they don't have their own equipment. Because if you want to buy one, we are talking about at least 3,000 euros or more.
Yeah.
So not all the people can afford this.
Yeah, that's one thing that people they don't know about. I'm a journalist, I know, but I want my listeners to know that these journalists who are reporting from the front line, like you, freelancers, they are not covered by anyone. They don't have a life insurance. You have to buy everything yourself. You don't have a safe hotel. You have to find the hotel, everything, and sometimes you are also as a freelancer. You don't have any stable income. So that is so brave. That's why I admire so much freelance journalists like you. So yeah, tell us about that. Like how do you do it, like as a what was your day-to-day basis as a freelance journalist first in Ukraine, trying to, because everything I guess was new to you, like
Yeah, the
how,
language,
yes.
everything. A new country, Ukraine is huge. I mean, it's a big country, and you spend many time traveling. So it's not possible to say, oh, I will go to this city to just check what I can make there. I mean, you need to have previous idea. Of course, you need to be flexible, because as we were talking about this previously, in a war zone, the situation changes very fast, and you need to have plan A, plan B, plan C, because you need to adapt your plans as soon as possible to go to the front, or the place you want to make the story. And how you survive is an interesting question. Me as a freelancer is super hard. I mean, it's tough to be freelancer, because the first I think the first problem is that you send emails to editors, and most part of the time they never reply to you. So how is possible to sell your material if the editors they never reply to you? But this is, you must to keep asking, sending emails, because of course they receive many emails per day, and if they don't know you and you are not insistent, they will never reply to you. And this relation between freelancers and editors You must to work on the relation to obtain their trust, to let them know about your trips, your plans, just to for them to put you in their radar, you know. Because if something happened and they know that, like for example, you are in Ukraine, in Sumi, and Sumi faced a huge attack, so they will call you for sure
Yeah.
to get some photos or text or video or yeah, or a live for television. So this is super important for all the freelancers who are working on war zones or any kind of environment. And then about the hotels, I mean, when you are freelancers, you must to pay all from your pocket without knowing if you will
Exactly.
recover the money.
Those like people, they don't know about this. Like everything is from your pocket. They think everyone, all the war correspondents are, or whether rich or covered by media outlets like BBC or CNN. But the reality is most of them are not, and they have to find the hotels. They have to find everything themselves, and or sometimes people also family, they host you as well because
Yeah.
they help you, they see you, want to give them voice, and they value that, right? As
Yeah.
well, Ukrainian families.
Totally. Yes, in Ukraine, for example, I've been 5 times there and I will go again soon. And I can say in all the trips, I lose a lot of money. But it's not like I lose a lot of money. For me, it was an investment. Because why I decide, because maybe some people said, but this girl, I mean, it's quite stupid. I mean, if you are not able to obtain money back, why you decide continue investing your money going to a place that you are not able to sell the material? And for me, because it's personal, because
Yes.
I found in Ukraine a home, I have many friends there, I love Ukraine so much, and for me it's a decision that I don't want to be part of the silent.
You want to give them voice, and it's your passion to do that. You do that with your heart. I think that's why there are many war journalists, and they're, why would they risk their life, or why would they go? It's a higher purpose. It's not the money, it's not the recognition. For you is to, what I like about your pictures is that you can see their souls through the picture. And that's how you, yes, is I, when I was researching about using I got really emotional because you can really see their suffering through the picture. So that's why you do it, right?
Yes. Yes, I mean, I don't want to be part of the silence in the case of Ukraine, for example, because I know it's tough for freelancers to sell the material, because I don't know a person who never traveled to Ukraine during the war. I mean, because it's a quiet, cheap war to cover, because it's near, it's in Europe, so you can afford a plane to Krakow, for example, for 45 euros, and then the train for 70 euros is super cheap. Instead, if we are talking about, for example, to go to Middle East, we are talking
That
about another budget.
Well. Yeah,
yes.
You have been to when the Bashar al-Assad regime fell as well.
Yes.
How was that going all the way there? And it was unexpected as well. So how did you decide? Did you receive a call? How was that?
This was so crazy, because I remember I was covering a Palestinian demonstration in Barcelona. And I was talking with a colleague and I said loudly, wow, I will die to go to Lebanon. I want to be there. I don't know what I need to do, but I really need to be there. I feel I need to go. And then I'm not lying. Then 1 hour later, the founder of SOPA, is an agency, called me and he said, "Do you want to go to Lebanon?" And I was like,
manifested.
"Wow, wow, this works."
Yes.
And he said, "Okay, you will have an assignment just for 1 week." And the money was not enough. I mean, I knew I will lose money if I not able to find another customer, but I felt you should go. So I took the opportunity and I traveled to Beirut. I literally ran to my home in Barcelona and I booked a flight for the other day. Packing just a few hours to pack in everything and to manage everything. And it was challenging because it was my first time going to Middle East and covering a war in Middle East. So I didn't have fixer, I didn't have contact, anything.
That's how you know you are passionate about it. You just have some drive within you. Just go. You are a go-getter, and just so then you landed there. Well, you
Yeah,
what was you scared when you was in the plane? Like, did
a
you?
little bit.
That's what we learn in journalism school. Like, most of the journalists, they have to research about their assignment on the plane. So
Yeah,
that's
it's
what
true.
you were.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So I land in Beirut, and yeah, with the idea to spend just 1 week because assignment was 1 week. The fact is because uh, an important issue, not issue but fact is, like around 2 weeks before going to Lebanon, I met the head of communication of UNHCR Spain during the opening of one of my exhibitions in Madrid.
No more vides, right?
Yes.
Don't forget me.
Yeah. Amaya. Uh, and because Amaya is from Basque Country and I was on board the Aitamari, the humanitarian rescue ship, it's an NGO from Basque Country. Also, the NGO I work with in Tigray, they are from Basque Country. We had many contacts in common and we felt very connected. So we keep in touch. And I said to Amaya, Amaya, I will travel to Lebanon. If you need anything, call me. And she said, okay, not now, but maybe an opportunity will appear. And that's it. I travel with the idea to spend 1 week, and then 2 days or 5 days after I arrive, Iran sent these 200 rockets to Israel, and all the flights canceled.
Wow, so
And
you was stranded there.
yeah, and I was like, oh my God, what I need to do now, because it's super expensive, Lebanon. You can't
Really?
imagine. Yeah, it's so expensive. And I said, okay, I don't know when I will catch another flight, and I need to pay my life from my pocket. I don't know how
Yeah, all
long.
the time as a war correspondent, war journalist, like fight or flight mode, like you have to be resolutive. So how do you stay calm with all of that? Like, did you master that? I I could say like it's an art as well, because how do you remain calm and resolutive while you have that situation in a country that is conflicted, and then you are there? How do you stay? Did you stay calm? What
I was
have you?
alone.
Yes,
Was my
alone,
first
and
time.
you.
Yeah,
Wow.
alone at the Airbnb. So first, I asked my fixer, okay, do you have bunkers or shelters here to run if something happened? Because I don't know the place. In Ukraine, I know how to react because I've been there many times. And I know they have shelters, or you can go to the metro, underground, and you will be safe. But in Lebanon, they don't have metro, so they don't have anything underground.
And it was a bit chaotic.
Yeah.
And that how was
Yeah,
feeling there? How was like the everything there? It was
crazy.
chaotic,
Yes.
everything, right, without a government and.
Yeah, was I am not sure and I don't want to lie, but I hear that was the most like more displaced people left their homes in the recent history of Lebanon. Because all the people who used to live in the south, they were forced to flee to Beirut because the south, Israel bombed all the times. So imagine, we are talking about Lebanon is a super small country, and you had like half of the country concentrated in Beirut. So was crazy. All the streets pack of people camping everywhere. And yeah, and then you must to add this fact that happened with Iran. So no one knew what will happen. And when you face situations like this, you must to create like a kind of bullet points in your mind, and just to go step by step, because if you got afraid or in crisis, what can you do? You can't solve anything. You are not able to face anything and to create new solutions. So first, I warn about my security, so I contact my fixer to ask if something happened, if Israel or Iran bomb Lebanon or whatever, where can I go? So he told me maybe go to the mosque. It's near. It's the biggest mosque, so you will be safe there. And I said, okay, now I have this solved, and then I need to book another flight as soon as possible, because if not, I need to pay more money.
And you have to take the chance because you don't know what will happen. And
Yes.
also, for our listeners who are not in the journalism world, a fixer is someone local that helps you, whether it's a journalist or someone who knows the area. So your life kind of depends on
Yes.
him or her
Yeah.
to inform you about everything. That's your security.
Yeah, and you must trust on this person. And most part of the time, you don't know this person.
Yeah.
So it's hard. And yeah, so the second thing was to book another flight, and I found one for 14 October, and this was, I don't remember, but I think 2 October or 3 October, so a lot of time. And then I booked another Airbnb for this period of time, and that's it. So I said, okay, I will lose a lot of money, but whatever, I'm here, I cannot change anything. And then I remember on 10 October, Amaya from UNHCR called me, and she said, we had a meeting because Filippo Grandi, the High Commissioner of Refugees of UN, will travel to Lebanon, to Beirut, for a mission. And I propose you as the photographer of the mission. Are you interested? And I said, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And this assignment was just 4 days. And I took the assignment, but then at the other Monday, I supposed to have the flight.
And you didn't?
No, because
so you stayed there more time.
yeah, because the head of communications of UNHCR Lebanon, Dalal, she called me and she said, "Oh, please, can you stay more, because we need you. We like your work, so we need pictures of the delivery of humanitarian aid, mattresses, blankets, kits, survival kits, and also interviews with IDPs, refugees." And I said, yes, of course I can. So they from Spain, they sent me a contract. And the story is, at the end, the trip that's supposed to be just 1 week changed to 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
3 months.
Yeah.
How was those 3 months? And yeah, as a word journalist, you can plan, you know, but you can't really, because everything
Change.
develops, everything changes. So when you take pictures, when they tell you we need these pictures, how do you balance the vulnerable situation, but also the human aspect? Like you as a journalist, you have to capture the picture, but you also suffer. And how do you balance that?
For me, it's super important when you are, because you have two kind of scenes. For example, one breaking news, that all the situation happens so fast and you don't have time to interview the people and to ask the permission to take the picture, because something is happening and you must to capture the moment. But then when you are covering an aftermath, or the situation is a little bit calm, you have the time to interview the people. So for me, it's super important to always introduce myself, who I am, which are my intentions, and to ask the permission, because we are talking about that these people, they are vulnerable and they don't want to be photographed. I mean, you imagine you lose your home, you are living, camping in the street, and then you see a photographer taking you pictures in a bad conditions with dirty clothes. No one wants to be photographed like this. So for me, it's super important to ask the consent always. And yeah, I mean, to try to document people with dignity.
And that's what I really like and love about you, that you do it to give them voice. You won this award because of your amazing work in the Tigray war as well. You documented people and women who have suffered from things that, like rape from Eritrean soldiers. You also help them through an organization, a bus organization, help them have to improve their lives with donations. You raised 20k euros, like that's wow. So how was that? Was like more um, instead of very rush, that type of work, it took you more time meeting the woman and also letting them know that what you want to do really like help them.
Yeah. In Tigray, in my coverage about Tigray, the fact was on 2023 I decided to travel the first time to Tigray because I heard it's considered the bloodiest war in this century, but no one talk about this or very few medias. And I said, how is possible to have this and no one is talking about that? So first I started pitching this project idea to many medias, the biggest ones, and I received just no for two reasons. Or one, we don't work with freelancers in war zones, or this is not so interesting.
That's the thing, that there are many wars that people they don't know about. Is there are so many conflicts. So yeah, can you explain our listeners to start with a bit the Tigray war? What
Yeah.
more context? Why did you decide? Why did you decide it was important for you to stay there and document everything?
Yeah, because I felt it's not unfair. It's not fair to it's unfair to have this context, to know that this considered the bloodiest war in this century, where so many people die and so many people still disappear, and no one talk about this. And this happened not only with Tigray. Most part of the conflicts in Africa are silenced by Occidental countries because are not part of the agenda, sadly. Because I don't know, I have my personal opinion of why, but for some reason they decide to focus on other things. And for example, in Ukraine, it's a super cover war, and it's fantastic because of this, because so many journalists decide to travel to Ukraine. I can say that this is the most covered war nowadays. And this is so good, but we need to be fair with all the people, not just to focus all our effort and the money of media outlets sending troops of journalists to cover one side of the world and the others don't. Why? Why? I mean, who take these decisions? Why you decide that to talk about what is going on in Ukraine is more important than talk about what is going on in Tigray or in Sudan? Why? Because they are black? Probably is the answer. I don't know. I don't want to judge, but it's my personal opinion. And
Well, and you have been there, is your personal opinion, but also your experience. So it's opinion, but you have been there and you have seen the suffering, and the suffering is the same suffering, or it could be even worse as other people are suffering from conflict. So why they don't want to give them voice, and you have experienced that they don't want to cover that. I think that must be an internal battle for you as a freelance journalist, that you want to cover this, you think it's important, but then they don't want.
yes, it's true. And of course, when you are freelancer, it's your decision. Maybe you don't want to take huge risks because we are talking about at least 2,000 euros to go to Tigray, so it's a lot of money. And no one, I mean, not all the people, all the freelancers have this money, sadly, to cover the stories they want to cover. But I happily I have a lot of support from my family, from my ex-boyfriend. So I was able to travel at that moment to Tigray with my colleague Edgar. He covered many times, many conflicts with me in Ukraine, in Ethiopia 2 times. So we said, okay, we need to go. And I felt I need to go. And I'm a person who always follow their internal feelings. If I feel something strong, like a kind of voice, sometimes I say this is my internal demon talking me. Because this person inside me pushed me to go to dangerous areas. It's not like let's go to Maldives. No, let's go
Let's
to
go to,
Ukraine.
yeah, go to far away alone. Let's just, why not? I mean, you
Yeah.
are also stubborn. You have to be really stubborn. Like what I want to do, I will do. Or like,
Yeah,
but
I am.
I think it's that voice, but also it's your heart. Your heart is telling you you need to do it. You need to
Yeah.
give voice to these people. Like in this world, you need to give voice to this woman because you like well what you covered. I think it was risky, but thanks to that internal voice, now you have this award. So sometimes the risk is worth it for you, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the most important things that I was able to reach uh, in Tigray, covering the post-war in
Mm-hmm.
Tigray, actually was not the award because, yeah, of course, money is so important,
Mm-hmm.
and we cannot say, oh, I don't care about money because no one believe you because it's important. And without money, I will not be able to travel again to Tigray, for example,
Mm-hmm.
because I've been there the last time 3 months ago, and I had the opportunity to return because and thanks to the Tom Stoddard grant, because it's expensive. So first we when we get all when we got all these no's, we decide to travel anyway, but with other idea. The idea was to cover the general situation about post-war, more focus on famine, in IDPs, in refugees. So we arrived in Mekele, and while I was working on IDPs and refugee camps, I discovered the situation about rape as a weapon of war, because we realized that so many women were following us with a kind of paper on their hands, and this paper was proof of, okay, this lady suffered sexual violence. And they said to us, please, you are our hope because no one come here. So how can you abandon them? It's not possible because before to be a photojournalist, I am a
Yeah,
person,
and
a
a
human.
woman as
Yes.
well. That is woman talking to another woman. I think they felt safe with you because you are another woman and
Yes.
you, yeah.
Yes. So yeah, we stayed around 15 days or 20 the first trip, and then we returned to Spain and we published one reportage in the Guardian, then Mediapart in France and El País in Spain. And for the second trip on 2024, I pitched the story of a kid. She's 12 years old, Esquedar. This kid have a huge scar in her stomach, and I pitched this story to Deutsche Welle because I really want to return to Tigray, but I mean, I didn't have money because I lost at that time my job, so it was not possible for me, and they decide to believe on me and the story, and they said, okay, we will take this assignment for you. And I was able to travel to Tigray the second time on May 2024, and I spent also around 20 days. And yeah, and I start to focus more on sexual violence and rape as a weapon of war. And on this trip, I realized that with this more forensic approach, including x rays and pictures of the
Yes.
letters and the objects, it's an interesting format because um, you are able to talk about rape as a weapon of war no matter the country or the religion or the skin color. Because through x rays, you are just looking bones and what is inside these ladies, but you are not able to see skin color
No.
or how these women dress or nothing, just to look the x ray, forensic evidence, facts. So my plan is to extend this project to another countries in war. In Ukraine, for example, I will go back. I was in Ukraine this January, and I interviewed 3 survivors of sexual violence. One of them is a man from Kherson, that is Frontline Kherson. And he told me that 80% of Kherson population faced sexual assault by Russians. So I think it's interesting to have a contrast between Ukraine, for example, and Tigray, a popular war and an unpopular war, because if you compare, okay, these are whites, Europeans, pretties, and these are the Africans, people who are silent by international medias, but at the end, both suffer the same, because
Exactly.
rape is a weapon of war.
Exactly. Because they are very vulnerable. These women, they are left without their husband, without a male figure, and they are really vulnerable position because all the men they are going to fight in the war. So these soldiers to come to attack, they know, and they. It's really sad, and also what you are doing with the X-ray, like just seeing them as a human being, and I think that is something why you are doing it as well, because it doesn't matter that is if it's in Africa, it's far away, and some people they think it doesn't affect me because it's so far away and they are different and they have been suffering for. They have normalized
It's
that.
normal, yes.
They don't have to normalize. It could happen to any of us. Any of us, it could happen.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I decided to cover the Tigray war. And yeah, as I told you before, sorry, I lost about this, but for me, the most important thing is not about the war. Of course, it's important, but the first year in Tigray, the last city where we visit, the name is Aksum. It's super near the Eritrean border, and Aksum faced horrible things because was the first city to be catched by the Eritreans. And at one of IDPs, I met a lady around 26, 25 years old, no more, and she was lying on a mattress between sleeping and crying. So I asked another colleague what is going on, and she said this lady faced sexual assault by more than 10 soldiers, and she's completely broken inside. So she's not able to do anything. She can't stand up, so she depends on others to get food, to get water, because she cannot afford to go to a private hospital, and the public ones are so far, so she can't walk. And I start recording this lady from the neck back for obvious reasons, and I just published this video on Twitter, X now, because I don't know why, but it was like an instinct. I want to share this pain with other people. And this tweet became crazy viral, and this tweet reached International Amnesty. So one lady, she's in charge of investigations of war crimes against women. She reached to me asking the location of this lady. Of course, I check if this person is real or not, because we never know.
Yes, you have to be sure.
Yeah. And then I send the location, and for me, that's it. And 3 weeks after, my fixer contacted me, and he said, do you remember this lady we met? She was crying. And I said, yes. And she said, you must know she's receiving medical treatment now.
Wow.
And for me, it was, I mean, the
Yes,
worst,
you are her angel.
the better thing, and like, I don't know, but you have the proof that
You saved her.
I don't know
In a
if I
way.
saved her, but
Yes.
I helped for this lady to receive the necessary medical treatment. And I'm super proud because no one believed on these stories and me. And I decided to travel anyway, and to fight against the waves and all the stones and the hills, to try to document these stories. And you know what? No one want to give me an assignment. It's fine. I have the money happily at that moment to cover this. I will do it. And if I can change the life at least one person, for me is the most important prize.
It's not worth any money, anything. It's worth everything, as like it's fills your soul. It's a different feeling, right? Like you are proud of yourself, and you, because you are, they say journalists they can't be activists or things like that, but you with your journalism you are actually doing activism, and you are doing charity work, because you are giving them a voice, and you are fighting for their stories. So in this way, and any media outlet wanted to publish or anything, you publish yourself, like in on
Yeah,
Twitter, on X.
and I
That's
reached the
how.
correct person. Maybe if some media publish and I think okay, it's enough. I reached my goal. I don't know. New York Times published this story. It's super important. Of course, all the journalists and photographers want to work with New York Times.
Mhm.
It's one of my dreams to work with them. But if no one gives to you the opportunity, nowadays we have many ways to reach audiences. Social networks are a huge way to reach people and to spread the voice through social networks, and it's for free. So why you don't use the social networks to tell the stories that you believe on these stories and are important for you? It's for free. I mean, and it will take just for 4 or 5 minutes to write a text and put a story and publish it.
Yeah, and you have to fight for what you believe, and you do. You follow your internal voice, and somehow you sometimes you see results, sometimes you don't. And this time, like, you help someone, and I believe you save her life because yes, maybe you don't recognize, but I recognize the amazing work you did. Then how is it for you? Then also to go back home, back to reality in that calm life. How do you live with the trauma more? Yeah,
Oh wow, this is the most difficult thing I
for
can
you.
say. And during Photo London, Fiona from The Guardian, she asked this question for all of us, Eva, the winner of the Yampari, Anastasia Taylor-Lynn, and I. And I said, and I always say the same, for me the most hard thing to deal with is when the coverage is finished and I need to take the plane or the train and to come back to my home for two facts. The first one is because you never know if you will see again these people, because we are talking about war zones or unsafe environments. So you never know. Maybe it's the last time you see this person with life.
Yeah, and if you are in
And it's,
Ukraine, they have phones and everything, but in Tigray, when you was in Africa, they don't have internet, they don't have phones, so, or well, some of them, but it's harder to reach them, right?
yeah, I mean, people, for example, who live in rural areas in Tigray, they don't have phones. People who live in cities, like the capital of Tigray is Mekele, they have phone, they have internet, but sometimes they have a cut of lights, so they don't have internet. And you text to them, and then maybe they take 4 days to reply, and you worry about what happened with these people. They are dead. No, sorry. Um, so it's hard because you never know what will happen. And also the other thing is, like, when I leave Barcelona for a coverage, I'm a person, and when I return to Barcelona, I'm another person. And I think this is a life changing because you will never be the same, and I am super happy with this. But you make a lot of effort to fix in the puzzle, and your size is different now, and you are not part of this puzzle anymore.
Between you as a journalist and you as a person who just enjoys life, right?
Yes. Yeah, and because I'm talking about my personal experience, but because previously, and when I was not so involved on this kind of coverages, I used to enjoy some things, for example, nightclub, or going to holidays in a pretty shore, or yeah, or spending time going shopping or whatever. But now I'm not interested anymore, and you lose a lot of people. I lost a lot of friends. It's not lost because um, I'm pretty sure that
Lost contact.
all the relations have a like a purpose, and sometimes this purpose end faster than the others. And yeah, you lose in terms of you are not any longer with a close relationship or friendship with these people, because you stop sharing interests, but also this open another doors to meet another persons,
Similar
people,
interests.
yes, who share these interests.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, for me this is the hardest thing, to try to return to the normal life with all of these experiences, but you don't have option. I mean, you need to return, to rest, to take your time, uh, and to try to enjoy the life, because you are like journalists who are covering war zones. I think you live in a kind of two lives, because you live uh, with your body, with your skin, with your emotions. You are involved in these horrible stories and the environments, and this is part of the real world. But also the pretty moments, the nice life, the travels to have holidays in Italy or whatever, or eat good food, or just to relax on the beach. This also is part of the real world. So you really need to learn how to manage this, to be okay living this kind of two lives.
And are you still learning? I mean, like you act really mature and everything, but you are really young. So you are also, you are experienced because you have been in everything, but in the way I guess you are still trying to manage that, as you said, like you don't enjoy certain things anymore. You are still figuring out how to find the balance, maybe.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
indeed. Yes, I think the key is to find the balance, and yes, to find the balance and to try to be happy, to enjoy this world, because this world is horrible sometimes, but some other times is super nice. And you meet during your way and your career and your experience super nice people who are able to also risk their lives in order to help others. And I had the pleasure to meet some of these people in Ukraine, for example. They are foreign people who decide to left everything and
To help.
yeah, to move to Ukraine and to be at the front line, trying to help other people, because they really believe on this cause, and they don't care risking their lives to help others. So if I'm not involved on this kind of job, I will never meet these people.
And it's just amazing to meet these people who are so selfless and who are like so generous, and they think about others more than themselves. And it's like you, I think you don't realize, but you, most of the time you are thinking more about other people than yourself, right? You are trying to help them, and with this you meet people like you who are trying to give voice, help them, and everything. So do you also feel when you go back home, you feel guilty of it, like why am I enjoying life and they are not? Or do you have that feeling that's why you stop shopping more, or because you are like, this is like a silly thing, like to complain, or you see, or to complain about certain things, you don't complain anymore because you have seen these people really suffering?
At the beginning, yes, I felt guilty many times, but not now, because I think I got tools and I learned tools thanks to my therapist.
Oh, so
Of
it's important for
yeah,
you. Was it important for you to start therapy
yes.
as a war journalist?
I
Of
think all
course.
the people should go to therapy,
Mm-hmm.
but most, if you are involved with this profession, you for sure you should go,
Mm-hmm.
no
Yeah.
doubts. And yes, I mean, for me it's a super important support, because you experience huge things and things that are not normal. uh, so I think by like you are not prepared for your own to face this. So you really need tools of for learn how to manage these feelings, the guilty, or for example, if you face a situation where someone died near you and you panic, or you was not able to help um, as much as you want, how to deal with this situation. Happily, I never pass of these situations, but I know many colleagues of who have experienced these situations, and of course without therapy I will not able to learn these tools.
Yeah, and it's the ugly part. I know one journalist who wrote this amazing article. How many were journalists also, they, because of the PTSD trauma and everything, they fall into addiction. So to cope with that, so it's really important for you to go to therapy and everything. So yeah.
Yes, and this happened a lot. I mean, it's crazy, and when you are more involved, and you know more people of this world, you realize of how many people abuse of alcohol or drugs. And of course you can't say I will never consume this, or I will never end up like them, because you never know. But if you aware of this previously, you have to, it's your responsibility to take care about yourself, because if you are not good in mental conditions or in physical conditions, how can you be able to develop uh, a good job on these stressful situations? It's not possible. So first you need to take care about your health, your mental health. For me is the most important thing. And then your body, what you eat, if you do sports or not, because you work with your body. So it's super important this. And yeah, I mean, sadly, so many people abuse of alcohol and drugs, but I think if you want to find another ways to uh, contrast the bad feelings or the sadly stories or the sad experiences, you are able to find another ways.
Yeah, well, you are really mature and you found the way and everything. And in terms of mental health, now let's go to the other side, because we are talking as a journalist, but now as the audience, as a spectator. People sometimes they don't want to switch on the news because they say it affects their mental health, anxiety, everything. So what would you tell them? How do you make sure that journalism impacts public opinion to make them aware? What will you tell to these people also, like they say about fake news in the media, and they are like trusting, like not trusting as much the media, and they don't want to switch on the TV because they don't want to feel anxiety or suffer from the mental health? What would you?
Well, I will say to them that all the huge changes in the world happened because the society fight together to reach this. So many people say no, because politicians are responsible for this, and they just them have the power to change this. Sometimes it's true, but also if you stay, it's easy to stay at your sofa with your arms crossed, waiting for a miracle, but this will never happen, because uh, most part of the politicians, they don't care about the people, their own societies. So I think we need to fight together. And if you decide to turn off the television because these news or images, for example, about Gaza or other places, affect your mental health, you must to know that even if you decide to avoid watching, the problem will stay there.
It's happening anyway, and
Yes.
people, they humans like you and me, like everyone is suffering in another part, and we need to show some empathy, right?
Yes. And in my personal point of view, if you decide to avoid consuming this genocide that is happening, you are part of this. I mean, of course, you are not bombing Gaza, but you are supporting the silence. So it's our responsibility as a society to watch these images, to share these images, no matter where it happened. In Israel on 7 October, it's also important to share what happened with these people because they are victims and they deserve justice. But also it's necessary to share what is going on in Gaza, what is going on in Tigray, in Sudan, in Lebanon, in Syria, in Ukraine, everywhere. Not just to be at one side like this
Exactly.
is a football match.
When people ask me as a journalist, what's your opinion on this, what's your opinion on that, I know there are so many journalists that are very opinionated, but for me, my opinion doesn't matter. I don't know about you. It's not about opinion. It's like there's people suffering. There's people suffering famine, rape, violence.
Yes.
I'm not one side, another. I'm not interested. I'm interested in politics because politics affect the war,
Yes.
but it's not opinion I have or a position. You are a humanitarian journalist. As humanitarian journalist, guess what you care about is people suffering.
Yes, totally. I never, for example, in Tigray war, this happened a lot with me. When I start publishing the stories on Twitter, I receive a huge wave of hate against
Yes.
me because some Eritreans start saying this, you're a liar or you are a propagandist, and I never talk about politics. I never mention TPLF because my aim is not to talk about Zelensky or Putin or Bashar al-Assad, because I don't care about them. I care about people who is suffering, and all the people, they are victims, and they are not responsible of their leaders causing wars and genocides and horrible things.
Yeah, that's why you do it, and I think people they should care more. But well, my podcast is called Everybody's Lost, so I have this question for you. Have you ever felt lost in some of these assignments? Tell us, like, have you felt lost at point? Like, how do I do this? What maybe like your worst moment, the moment you have felt the most lost in one of your assignments, or
Oh, many times. Many times, but for me, the moments when I feel lost is when I finish a coverage, because as a freelancer, you never know what's next. So in my case, this causes a lot of anxiety on me and fear, because sometimes I feel if this was the last coverage, if I need to return working on marketing, a job that I hate, because I need money to pay my bills and my flat and my life. So we need to be realistic with this. And I think this is the moment I feel I am lost. I don't know how can I approach editors or to think another ideas to pitch to them interesting stories. So yeah, I think all the freelancers feel this feeling all the time. Yeah.
But well, it's fascinating that you say you feel lost that, but not when you are like in life-threatening moments. You don't.
No, no.
Well, so what have you ever been afraid of your life? Was there a moment that you was really afraid, like you are like, I'm not gonna make it out?
Yeah, in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Ukraine, I remember in Kherson is like the hell. I mean, it's horrible. And I've been there on August 2022, no, on January 2023, the first time, and then in this January. And I remember we, with my colleague Edgar, we were at a house. Someone host us because it's super hard to find hotels in Kherson because all are bombed or are targets. So this Roman, he's a friend of my friend Edgar. He hosts us, and one night the Russians bombed a lot Kherson. Was very
Alarms
scary.
all the time. And well, you
No,
could hear the
you don't have alarms in Kherson because because it's frontline, they bomb with artillery. So artillery works like this, in this direction. So the alarms sometimes they cannot detect, because the alarms works more often with missiles, with rockets.
Okay.
But this year I hear some alarms, so maybe they put new ones. I don't know. And I remember we hear the rockets crossing the top of the house, the sound of the rocket flying, and was like, oh my God, maybe I will not survive. Maybe it's the last person I see. And we ran downstairs to the shelter with my colleague Edgar, and we hug each other, looking our faces, saying, oh my God, you are the last person I will see. You are so ugly. To try to make a joke in this
humor in
moment.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. But happily we surviving.
Yes.
I'm here.
Die with that ugly person.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
I was lucky.
Did that change you forever, you think, to see like life is so ephemeral?
I think you learn to value life in another way, because you realize that, because when you work, for example, in marketing, you never think about the death.
Yeah, or not even, like in here, and you
Yeah.
you think, but it's not constant like when you are in
Yes.
a war zone.
Totally. And when you are in that places, you realize that now I can be sitting here talking with you, and then 1 minute after I can be dead. So you learn how to enjoy the little moments that you previously you didn't, how to enjoy of these moments, and to be aware and to know that life can change immediately with illnesses. If a war happen in your country, you can lose in terms of seconds your mother, your sister, your entire home, your life. So yeah, I think this is horrible because are super sad stories, but this is super powerful, and it's a key for the life, that if you don't spend so many times in places in war zones or working in this kind of environment, it's hard to learn.
Yeah, until you suffer something traumatic. So now you are back, even though you almost lost your life in Ukraine, you are back to it. It's like we were talking. I guess your addiction, like to keep covering there. So what are your hopes now with this next assignment?
Well, I will return to Ukraine soon, probably next week, to continue the second part of Rape as a Weapon of War, interviewing people, survivors. And yeah, I don't know for how long or in which cities I will
1
be,
week, 3 months.
but let's see what
Yeah,
happens.
let's see. I'm looking forward to keep watching your work and keep admiring you, because you are such a brave woman. I'm so thankful that you won this award, everything, and you are in London and we could interview her. So I wish you the best of luck, Ximena, for your next assignment. And yes, tell your socials where people can find you and see more of your work, because please just see her pictures and you will understand me, why I admire her so much, and how emotional you are gonna get of all of this. And yeah, so tell
Thank
your
you.
socials.
Thank you so much. So yeah, my Instagram is Xborrazas with B. And yeah, they can follow me on Instagram, on Twitter. My name is Ximena with X. And yeah, I always share like funny moments, because people tend to think that going to Ukraine, for example, or war zones is all the times horrible and it's pain and you suffer. And yeah, sometimes you face this kind of moments, but other times it's so funny and you spend many hours laughing and
Finding
sharing.
humor as well.
Yeah, because it's part of the life also, and it's part of the world. So I show everything, like behind the scenes. And for example, when I work with TV, I publish like the bloopers for other people who are starting in this world and they afraid to commit mistakes, or they fear to talk with the camera, just to them to watch that this happened to
Yes.
me, and doesn't matter, you
Like,
can try again, it's
like
not a
like
problem.
me as a journalism student, I saw you, I'm like, wow, I want to be like this brave woman. That gave me hope. So yes, if they follow you on social media, they can see beyond just the
Yes.
pictures, like more the everyday life, how is everything. Also you meeting, I see meeting other journalists, how you also socialize, so they
Yes.
can find more than your socials and on X.
Yeah.
And
Thank
yeah,
you.
thank you so much. Gracias in our language.
Gracias.
We both speak Spanish, so and yes, you can follow us also. Everybody's Lost podcast, Spotify. You can, if you are listening to it, you can watch it on YouTube as well, and on Instagram and TikTok. Everybody's Lost. Comment with your thoughts if you have learned something new. What do you think of this? And yes, thank you so much for listening once again. Adios. Bye bye.